Long gone in the never-ending nightmares of trials, I was stuck inside of a machine. A machine in which demands you to get better by every obstacle. I wanted to escape this nightmare, but it always brings me back to continue to play his little games. Just like an alcoholic who drank till he passed out, I was addicted to this game. More than 400 hours I have spent, and not a single second I have spent actually making a single word for my new project. I needed to escape. I needed to find the light. After a never-ending barrage of opening and fighters, I have seen the escape. I heard them coming for me. This was my only chance. I saw the light, and I finally saw my chance to come back.
He's here. Alan!
There's an old road with mystery of Tom the poet and his muse, and a magic lake which gave a life to the works the poet used. Now the muse she was his happiness, and he rhymed about her grace, and told the stories of treasures deep beneath the blackened waves. Till in the stillness of wonder, and still in its misty crown, the muse she went down to the lake, and in the waves she drowned. And now to see your love set free, you will need the witch's cabin key. Find the lady of the light, gone mad with the night. That's how you reshape destiny.
What's here? But first, they have to find them. What's here? But first, they have to find them.
It's been a month and I don't remember what really happened. I finally got my chance to speak about this game, Alan Wake. Back in 2010, I had a close friend of mine who we shared games with each other all the time. I didn't really knew about new games coming out because I was a bit dumb on where to find news sources around. But my friend told me that he had a new game, so I was interested in this game. So I let him borrow Halo DST for a while, for Alan Wake, for a week. In there, I immediately fell in love with this title. I remember being completely into the atmosphere, being addicted to this combat system, and I was in love with everything that this game had to offer. It was a title that I wanted to come back over and over to play it again, but with the circumstances, I only played this game once. But it's a title that was stuck in my head. Fast forward now to 2016. I got the game on my hand and I still hold on to be the great title I remember. But wait, let's rewind the tape back to E3 2005. Electronic Entertainment Expo is still the biggest convention for big games to be announced to the public. And in this event, a little game by Remedy Entertainment, they announced a new IP coming for the new console in development by Microsoft. This new IP was named Alan Wake. This title was shown behind closed doors to the press as a form of a tech demo. Now, I personally don't know what was the exact reaction of the events, or how the gaming community reacted to this, but I know that this game was in development since 2005. So let's skip all the history crap I basically don't know, and let's go back to 2016. Alan Wake is a famous writer for his best-selling crime fiction book, who's been suffering a 2-year writer block in which he's not able to write anything for a long time. His wife Alice recommends him to take a vacation, and they go to a rural small town in the Washington state mountain town of Bright Falls. Upon going into the town, I get a quick flashback of David Lynch, Twin Peaks. A series of a detective is investigating the death of Laura Palmer. Now, the story isn't too similar to Twin Peaks, but the town on itself reminds me of it. And it's no secret this game has inspiration of Stephen King and David Lynch. Anyways, let's go back on track. Going into the town, you're scheduled to a meeting with somebody who is going to give you a key in the direction for the place you're going to stay. You meet some people in the diner and fuck around with the youth bus until you have to go in the back to look for a person who's in the bathroom. Let him or her know you're there. Before going in, there's a lady with a lamp warning you to not get in without a light because it's dangerous. You ignore her and go in anyways, just to meet with some weird lady to give you a direction and a key to a cabin and an island to stay with your wife. Get the keys and go to the cabin. In the cabin, Alan and Alice are setting in. You go and look for the generator to turn on the lights because Alice is anxious to get the light on fast because she is personally scared of the dark. You turn on the generator and go back to the cabin. Upon arriving, Alice set a surprise to Alan by giving him a typewriter in a studio to work for his new book. But he felt upset by it because he went there to forget all about writing and editing. Frustrated, he go outside in the night knowing Alice would not follow her, so he can go and take a breath. Then the lights go off in the cabin, and Alice started screaming. Alan go back quickly to what it may appear she has fallen into the lake. Alan in desperation go and jump into the lake to save her. Landing in the lake, he blacked out to later see himself in a car crash.
Sheriff's office. Yeah, Jim, what's up? Okay, will do.
What's wrong?
Your friend is heading straight for this town. Now what do we do?
If there's one man who can help, it's the man coming in here right now.
He's heading this way right now.
Well, what are we waiting for? Get your car, Sheriff, and let's get up a welcoming committee and...
I did skip the nightmare introduction of the game, but there's not a lot of context to give you other than a tutorial. The brief introduction of the nightmare goes like this. Alan is running away from something that he is not sure what it is. While driving really fast, he's not able to stop and hits some person in the middle of the street. Alan feels sick about it, so he goes to look for help, but then the body disappears, and then the body appears again. Trying to kill Alan, a light in the sky then appears to tell you that the enemy is protected by darkness, and to kill them you need light. You kill the enemy later known in the game as Taken. Now in this brief section it teaches you the mechanics on by the whole game is run into. Shadows are the shields, and you cannot kill an enemy while they have the shadows around them. So the light source is the only weapon to fight against it. Once you destroy the shadow, you can physically kill the enemy. This mechanic is in the whole game and narrative. Later, after killing the enemy, you go into the lighthouse, something get you, end of nightmare. This is a narrative heavy game, but it does things so well and polished, it's not hard to go back and play it by just the gameplay itself. It was a well thought out system that they made a whole new side game, Alan Wake American Nightmare, that revolves around using the game mechanic to its fullest and bring out a more arcade game out of it. But back on track, Alan Wake is a simple game to learn. It can get really crazy by the end of the game, throwing you around 10 to 50 enemies at the same time, and you have to know how to use most of the tools in the games to deal with them effectively. So what kind of tools Alan has? So, what we have is a small arsenal to defend ourselves, and I think my biggest criticism with this game is that it doesn't expand much on what kind of weapons we can play around with. But what we have works perfectly. There's the standard revolver, the double barrel shotgun, the pump action shotgun, and the bolt action rifle. That is all the main weapons that you use for this game. As for defense items, we have the flashbangs, flare guns, and flares. Keep in mind, flare guns and flares are completely different items. And that's mostly all the arsenal. But let's not forget about the flashlight, which it has 4 different variations with different powers and battery resistance. And that's all your tools to use against the enemies. And now for the enemies. As for the enemies, we only have 5 types of them. We got the weak Taken, the normal Taken, the strong Taken, the chase on Taken, and the teleporting Taken. There's also the birds who attack you in packed. Also, items around the area that get manifested by the shadows, like a dumpster, a truck, a fence, anything attack you. And that's basically all the enemies that are in the game. The main game is an episodic structure that can take 2 to 3 hours long in between. They wanted to give you that authentic TV series we see, but in a game. By having previously on Alan Wake or To Be Continued, I personally like this a lot. While it can be ambiguous for somebody who doesn't really want to stop after finishing a chapter, I, who personally stream games, it was a really neat way to end a stream. It felt like I was making the viewer watch a TV episode and they had to wait till next day to see what happened. It was fun to do. It was really fun. But why the game has an episodic structure if the game is so S1, not like the Telltale games Walking Dead? Well, here's why. Going back to the plot, Alan wakes up from the crash car, not knowing what really happened or what has happened to Alice. He sees a gas station nearby, but he has to go through the woods to get there. While walking through the woods, a huge immense light appeared dropping a piece of paper. This paper has the introduction for a book called The Departure by Alan Wake.
Pages from a manuscript entitled Departure. That was the name I planned to use for the next novel I had never gotten started. I was named the author.
This confuses Alan because he hasn't reading anything for 2 years. But here, right now, there's a script for a book he didn't really wrote. Or did he? This is where the episodic structure came to be. If you go and read these papers, you can read what is going to happen later in the game without even knowing. Then you have a deja vu of what happened because you already read it. This is super important to know because this is part of the narrative of the game. You will find out why this is happening like it's written on the papers. You have no other option but to continue going forward. Fight this thing and go and search to save Alice. Basically, the game is playing you.
The way you're leaving this place is over my dead. Wait a minute.
This game is a horror psychological thriller. The game is dripping with atmosphere, and since the whole narrative follows this dream-like quality, the game can get really creative on how to spook your ass. Now, I have heard that when you're playing the game, the camera goes back revealing the enemy that they're behind you. Yes, this happens. But there's also a lot of quiet moments that you should feel safe, but the game fuck with you and throw out an enemy behind a bush or waiting for you without noticing. The game atmosphere shines. You're always feeling dread, feeling watch. Always look at your surroundings, and sometimes the game fuck with the lighting and shadows to make you see stuff that looks like an enemy. As for now, there's 2 special episodes that are free to download. And this episode is where the developers go crazy, because this is part of the story Alan is trapped in some dream. I am not telling you more than that. But these episodes are really bizarre and visually engaging, and personally is one of my favorite parts of the game. The dreamlike quality is what I like a lot about this game. I'm a huge fan of that stuff. Games like Silent Hill, shows like Twin Peaks, or films like Jacob's Ladder, the bridge between dreams and reality is a realm I love being explored. The game, after questioning if the stuff that is happening is really real or not, the surrealism behind it is what gives this game a lot of strength in it. But if it did well or not, it depends by the person, but I personally loved it. Alan Wake is not perfect. There could have been more variety on the enemies and weapons to make the game less repetitive. There were concepts of putting more enemies like animals, and can get really tedious at times when the game throws you taking objects at you. It is difficult to dodge and it's overwhelming as hell. I'm hoping less of that enemy type in the future, if there's a future, for Alan Wake. And before I end, I cannot go without mentioning Alan Wake 2. There are rumors and allegations of Alan Wake 2 still in development, but there's kind of a confirmation that they're still working on it, on an Easter egg in Quantum Break, Remedy latest games, which giving me a lot of hope for the sequels coming out in the later years. There's also bits of gameplays of Alan Wake 2 and a 13-minute demo on Polygon, which shows you that Alan is still fighting Mr. Scratch, an antagonist that will be later revealed in the first game. I will not go in detail on that video because you can click the annotation on the screen. That's all I got to say for one of my favorite games for the 7th generation. A lot of people might say that 7th gen will not have classics or something like that, but games like Alan Wake, Devil May Cry 4, or Dark Souls, I consider them classic in my own eyes. I hope you have a wonderful day, and... Hey, thank you for watching this video. This is probably the end slate, probably unscripted. It's unscripted. I don't got too much to say, only that, yeah, it took me a while. It did took me so much to make a video because I am fucking procrastinate like every single fucking time. I'm gonna try to make more videos, like small video commentary or stuff like that, anything you like. Right now I'm like kind of watching fucking E3. Hope that fucking shit. Oh well. They're gonna do some shoutouts in here. Some of my friends that always are with me, and not all of them makes videos all the time. One of them hasn't make a video in fucking 3 months or so, but she has to come back one day. So I'm gonna shout out Kisa, the otaku chick. She's a friend of mine. Thank you, Car. Shout outs to Mr. R. He's fucking awesome. He always been in there. So just making noises on Discord. Shout out to Mr. R, like I told you, he always been in there. He done a lot of videos for me. Oh my fucking god, Discord. And shout outs to Chris Mix Carnage. He's done a lot of videos about anime reviews and stuff like that. He's hilarious. I was in one of his videos. And shoutouts to Gil. He doesn't too much videos, but he always been in there for me. Always like in the group and stuff. He's really great. He's done shit posts, so if you like that, you can go there and watch. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'm out.